All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a packed show, so Foogle fam, buckle up. It's going to be a good one. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a ton to go over in a short amount of time, so just to get right into it, if you're new here, remember, you can always get notifications from us over on marfooglenews.com, and not only that, you can also sign up for our email alerts. That system is used rarely, and when it is, we try to make it as useful as possible and make sure that we are sending out something good. And then, of course, we make a full bibliography for every single show. If we show you an article, a tweet, a video, a picture, a document, we make sure to have a bibliography of all of our sources. That way you know exactly where it comes from. Now, when you go over to the website, you will see that it is all organized by thumbnail. You'll look for 300,000 on high alert coming to a head. That is, of course, referencing the now new 300,000 troops that are on high alert. And I asked, is it readiness or alert? And again, it was a alert. So this is a big deal. It's a stuff moving forward, and nobody really wants to see it. But again, it's happening. So we'll talk about that and much, much more. All of it is going to be on the website, including there is overflow. We'll talk about that at the very end. That is all the stuff we couldn't fit in the show, the stuff that is too hot. So remember to check that out. Speaking of too hot, it was hit over 90 degrees here. It felt like 99. I don't know what it is. We definitely got some sun in the last few days here in Washington. But it is hot, and with both ACs going, it is absolutely crazy hot in here. So excuse me for being a little hot here. All right, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on? Dex, how are you doing, and what is going on?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I've never been better.
How hot is it there? Yesterday it was like 80-something there, right? Or
it's not that bad right now. It's back to normal. We had the heat wave twice. But when we had it, it was bad.
Well, it's like when you live somewhere that doesn't have it and you're not prepared for it. That's why we told everybody to get prepared for this beforehand, because a lot of people that are not used to this kind of heat, when it does hit, so you guys have 100-degree temperatures on a regular basis. A lot of places around the country do. If you're in a place like Washington where you rarely have anything over 70, it is a big deal because your body's not acclimated to it, and people die from heat exhaustion and heat stroke and everything else. So be careful, drink tons of water, make sure to get your water in. All right, millions in California to get up to $1,050 in inflation relief. It says California Governor Gavin announced late Sunday night that he had reached an agreement with the state legislators on a $17 billion inflation relief package. It says millions of Californians will be receiving up to $1,050 as part of a new middle-class tax rebate. That's more money in your pocket to help you fill your gas tank and put food on the table. So one problem with this is, I'm sure, great for most of you, but you have to understand that it does come from somewhere, and they end up taxing it from other places, and you'll probably end up paying it anyways. But also $1,000 is so little now compared to what a gas tank is. This would be a temporary fix for maybe like a week of gas at this point. Anybody that drives a truck right now is paying over $100 to fill their tanks. You're talking about anywhere from $5 to $8 to $10 in California. In fact, in California, they have, I would assume, if you have a 14, 15 gallon, car tank, you're ended up filling it up for $150 at some of these $10 a gallon places. Not to mention, if you are, filling a 24 gallon tank, that's $250 to fill a regular truck or SUV that has a big tank. So this is like 4 fill-ups, if anything. So how do you feel about it? Are you in California, and does this help you? Again, are you looking forward to this? It says, again, how it breaks down. According to Bloomberg Law, individuals making as much as $75,000 a year, or joint filers making up to $150,000 would get up to $350 each, plus $350 per dependent, for a maximum of $1,050. So again, you don't even, if you're a single guy, you get $350. That's like one fill up if you have a truck. So that's like one, maybe a fill up and a couple bucks. So not that great. Dex, do you think more states are going to follow suit, or do you think that California is just trying to, are they leading the way, or do you think more people are going to try to do this?
I look at it as they must have more money they know what to do with if they can just give it back out left and right, because this got to come from somewhere, right? They don't just create money. They have to collect it to then give it back to people. So somebody's paying this bill.
Well, it will just get passed down the line. And then off the charts, chemical shortage hit U.S. farms. So we actually had a couple calls over the last few weeks of as far as farmers go. We even had a mid-sized farmer call and say that they basically got a lot of their stuff last year, their inputs as they call it, essentially like fertilizer, seeds, and everything else. A lot of the mid-sized to bigger farms, they end up getting prepared the year before. And they get all the stuff they need for the next season when it's off season, because obviously it's cheaper. But not all farms have the ability. A lot of people responded to that caller and said, I run a smaller farm. And again, like hers was 3 people, but they have machinery that allows them to run a over $1 million farm. Which again, is still small in comparison to some of the corporate, huge hundreds of thousands of acres kind of farms. But the smaller farmers definitely came out in droves and said we couldn't afford to do our inputs. We were barely paying, our rent for our land, or we weren't able to pay our taxes, or this or that. So we had a lot of farmers reach out and say that they could not afford the fertilizer, they couldn't afford their inputs, or they basically had to afford it. So they cut other places. One farmer said that they sold their vehicle, one of their third vehicles that they used for transporting stuff, and they sold that to be able to farm this next season. So it's getting really bad, and now, of course, the chemicals that help farmers along are having a huge issue as well. It says U.S. farmers have cut back on using common weed killers, hunted for substitutes, popular fungicides, and changed planting plans over persistent shortages of agricultural chemicals that threaten to trim harvests. It says that spraying smaller volumes of herbicides and turning to less effective fungicides increase the risk for weeds and diseases to dent crop production at a time when global grain supplies is already tight because of the UKR conflict is reducing the country's exports. So again, they blame everything on what is going on in UKR. So many people realize that we got so much from UKR. And then interviews with more than a dozen chemical dealers, manufacturers, farmers, and weed specialists showed up shortages, disrupted U.S. growers' production strategies, and raised their costs. It says Sean Inman, owner and distributor of Spinner AG Incorporated in Zionsville, Indiana, said supplies are the tightest in his 24-year career. It says this is off the charts, Inman said. Everything was delayed. Shortages further reduce options for farmers battling weeds that developed resistance to glyphosate, the key ingredient in the commonly used Roundup herbicide, after decades of overuse in the United States. Prices for glyphosate and glufosinate, another widely used herbicide sold under the brand Liberty, jumped more than 50% from last year, dealers said, paddling profit and companies like Bayer AG, Base SE, and Corteva Inc. So basically, all these companies have gone up 50% as far as these chemicals have just skyrocketed. This is on top of gas. This is on top of meat. This is on top of poultry. This is on top of everything. We have shown you, I want to say it's every single show, we are showing you step by step, day by day, things are getting worse. Now, this isn't to bum you out or make you depressed. Most of you are all desensitized to this and realize that things are only getting worse. And that's why the prepper standpoint from this is to have things ready and to actually prepare yourself and to do things with foresight and think ahead. Dex, this is pretty bad, but again, this isn't anything new. This is just piling on top of this heap of crap that has been coming our way.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if anybody's bought Roundup lately, but that stuff's getting expensive. It was expensive to begin with. It's even more expensive. And I have a friend who's got one of those lawn spraying companies, kind of like True Green, right? They go around, they spray lawns. They had the same problem this year, was getting chemicals, getting the right kinds, and they either weren't available or they had to go to lesser products or pay double the price. So, and causing them to charge their customers more.
Well, it's not going to get better. That's why anyone that is in this business is usually thinking ahead. And like we talked to some, they were able to get ahead of the curve. But like that farmer we talked to that was mid and they got their inputs early, how they also said, that woman said that they hadn't bought inputs for next year. They were waiting for fertilizer prices to go down. What happens if they don't go down? I guess that's my question. And by the way, thank you so much, Sweetie Turner, for being the last one out last show. Leanne Gregson, thank you so much for supporting Independent. Thank you guys for supporting our show. I appreciate you. Stephen McMahon says thanks. I appreciate you as well, Stephen. Stefan says thanks, Adam and Dex, for all you do. You do goods. Don't forget the mods. And then Spartan O Negative, Joseph Newhouse, Thaddeus J, and Ariel's Pervy Perspectives. Thank you guys for popping in. It says drunk mayor crashes car after meeting families of drunk driving victims. This isn't Babylon B. This is, again, a real story. It says that residents are furious over an Australian mayor's drunk driving crash 1 hour after she met with the families of drunk driving victims. Redland City Mayor Karen Williams admitted to drinking several glasses of wine before crashing her car into a tree on Thursday night. Australia has one of the highest rates of car accidents caused by drunk driving, following the United States, Canada, and South Africa, according to the Global Status Report on Road Safety by the World Organization. It says the alcohol consumption is the key factor in 30% of road accident deaths in Australia. In the United States, the percentage is slightly higher at 31%. Last year, as part of a $1 trillion infrastructure package, which again, probably 95% of that went into somebody's pocket, Congress mandated that automakers implement technology to prevent DUI deaths. Now, I want you to go back to this because this has a bigger meaning than this funny story. I do want to remind you of a story that we covered prior to this. It says, as part of a $1 trillion infrastructure package, that the Congress mandated automakers to put in preventions to DUI. Do you guys know what that is? Anybody can put it in the chat if you would like. But again, what they are doing is they're going to start putting in technology that either watches you, that monitors your eyes to see if you're drunk, to see if you're falling asleep, or to even have in the future some sort of system that would know if you are intoxicated, and it wouldn't start if it does. What also comes with that is if they do end up going the route that most people think they are going, it would have some sort of remote access. You're talking about all of the cars now are starting to have access to the internet and Wi-Fi and even their own kind of hotspot and things like this, but they can also be remotely accessed. A lot of the repair people for these new cars say that they can actually go without scanning the car. They can actually be 10 feet away and scan the chips. They can do a lot of the stuff remotely. Think about this. If one day they wanted to just turn off every single car on the road, that's a potential. And you might be saying like, well, nobody would do that. The government would just turn off all cars. Well, what if it got hacked? This is really a freaky thing, and also it would be possible that they are talking about cameras. They're talking about all these things, cameras in your cars to monitor your eyes, or even some sort of device that can detect alcohol fumes. So some might say that this is a good thing, but this is again really, really crazy. And then Tennessee actually became the first state to pass a law holding drunk drivers accountable for child support after a parent is killed. Williams said she has made a serious error of judgment and was deeply regretful after her drunk driving crash. She stepped down from the Brisbane Olympics 2032 board on Sunday. However, she is resisting calls for her resignation. Says, I made a mistake. I will learn from that mistake, and I will continue to serve my community as I have for the last 18 years. Okay, so I don't know what it's like there, and maybe people really like this woman, but for her to go to this victims of drunk driving panel and be like, oh God, I just want to drink. This is pretty bad. I would think of I don't think that there could be something, a lot worse than this as far as being a mayor and having something happen. The timing is bad, Dex.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it couldn't, but she said she had multiple glasses of wine and it happened an hour after. So was she drinking the wine during the event? An event talking about drunk drivers?
She went
like you
to
would
it
be
drunk.
Drinking in that event?
She went to it drunk. She talked to victims of drunk driver accidents drunk. And I'm sorry, you can drink one glass or even half a glass of wine. Anybody that doesn't drink, especially people that are adamantly against drinking, you can smell alcohol from a mile away. I can smell alcohol from 20 feet away. It's been 7 or 8 years since I've really drank. I've drank once or twice, and I can smell it like it's, 50 feet away. So I'm just surprised that she did that. That's pretty horrible. Can you think of something worse? Let me know in the chat or in the comments below. All right, and then Johnny Depp, a lot of people obviously followed the trial. Most of you thought it was a big distraction, and guaranteed did distract a whole lot of people, and it was entertaining. I will say that a few of the days, and you couldn't escape it. It was all over TikTok. It was all over Facebook. It was all over every platform imaginable. Shorts, every clip, every one of these, short 15 to 60 second videos, every other clip was a clip of either Amber Heard or Johnny Depp. Well, apparently Johnny Depp, after his win, is to return to Pirates of the Caribbean after talks with Disney over a $300 million deal. Which, if you watch the trial, he said that he wouldn't go back ever, or I guess he was saying that like, I'll never work for them again because they won't hire me, but pretty crazy. So I think they made a business decision since everybody is pro Johnny Depp now and everybody is anti Amber Heard. Meanwhile, I think she is either her role is getting basically dropped, or did we ever find out if Amber Heard's even going to be in Aquaman, or are they replacing her? I think they're going to replace her, but
I have not heard.
Well, you wouldn't follow this anyways. I know because it's been around in the house. My wife definitely watched the whole trial. She got up in arms about it, all of it. All right, and then, by the way, thank you, Stephen McMahon and Leon Gregson, again. I appreciate you. Real quick, I do want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, I would make sure to go check out Energy. It's a solar generator, and the reason why. So, first of all, if you've never seen a solar generator, they are absolutely silent. At least this one is. It doesn't make a single sound, which means people won't hear you from 3 or 4 blocks away that you have power. Now, this has already come in clutch for me. Obviously, now our whole studio is actually powered by an Energy with 2 batteries. And actually, I was doing it for a month and a half with 1 battery and then 4 panels. I have already saved money on my, as far as my power bill, running all of this stuff, all my music stuff off of this. It's really, really an amazing system, but also it is great during an emergency. If you have rolling blackouts, if you have anything, this thing can pretty much power most of it. I have not plugged in a single thing that I couldn't power. I even tried plugging in my my mini fridge and my microwave and other things, and it does all of it. It has again a really great max output of 1500. So again, make sure to go over and check this out. It is called the Energy Flex 1500. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to do so. It is an amazing system, and it is expandable, where others are built in with the battery, and once the battery or the head unit is outdated, you basically have to buy a whole new one. This one, if they come out with a bigger, badder head unit, you can actually just buy the new head unit and put it on the old battery. Or 10, 15 years down the road, you need a new battery or you need more, you can do that. Not only that, this has the ability to actually change its input. So you can actually get a mod that goes in between. They stack up to 96 batteries. You can put inputs that actually triple the input of solar power. So instead of 4 panels, you can actually do 12 panels over 1,200 watts. So again, it's a great, great system. Make sure to go over and check it out now. marfuglenews.com/energy. We are now days away from the ship date. A lot of people were hesitant a few months ago because they were waiting on parts. A lot of the stuff in the lithium and everything else is in other countries, and there were all sorts of delays, but now they are getting closer to that ship date. So make sure to get over there now, marfuglenews.com/energy, and you will save up to $170 off on different packages using our code. That's again, that's just with our code. So that's code Marfoogle at marfuglenews.com/energy. Thank you guys. When you support that, you end up supporting us and reinforcing the growth of our channel. I appreciate each and every one of you that have done so. All right. And then Dex, futuristic flying nuclear hotel, can carry 5,000 guests and would never need to land. Do you want to cover this one? I'll pull up the picture.
This is kind of crazy. So, it kind of reminds me of that movie. What was it? The train that never ended, right? It kept going forever. Ice something, but yeah, this whole notion of a building that can fly and be self-sustaining and have its power so that it can basically just stay in air indefinitely is what they're talking about building. So the Sky Cruise Hotel would be piloted by AI and have 20 nuclear fusion powered engines and would never need to land back on Earth. The concept was originally designed by Tom Holmston, but it's being reimagined by someone else, blah, blah, blah. But the thing, look at this picture. I mean, if you can just imagine the massive size of this, right? Like those engines and those windows, look at the little tiny windows. Like those are windows for big people, to look out of. So that's how huge this is. It's like, multiple 747 stacked and probably long. And I don't see exactly how many engines are on there, but it's something like, 10 engines on each side. That's huge. So this is a massive undertaking.
Okay.
I wonder if it can actually, how they're going to get this thing off the ground because it's so big, and what runway they're going to need.
Okay, but does anybody else have this question about this? So why do they need a plane city that would fly and never have to land and have the ability to grow food in it, to have everything basically self-sustainable inside a plane? Great question. Can anybody take a guess on that? That's kind of freaky. Why would they even design it? Now, this is still kind of this is a design, and they're talking about it. But I mean, think about that. Is the planet going to be so bad that we can't be on the ground? Is this for the rich and elite to fly around and live on after everything goes to crap? This is kind of a spooky thing if you think about it. Why would they even need this? And I don't know. It's just really freaky. It basically is a sky cruise ship. They call it the Sky Hotel, but if you look at it, and this is a basic design, I guess they say that they have gotten it down to where it would be able to fly and stuff with the kinds of engines.
Yeah, and Adam, it's going to have shopping malls, sports centers, swimming pools, restaurants, bars, theaters, playgrounds, hospitals, places to have wedding halls, and all sorts. Basically, everything you would see on these massive cruise ships. The only difference is a massive cruise ship just has to avoid basically an iceberg and not sink, right? And nobody wants to cruise where it's cold. But this thing can fall out of the sky, so I don't know what their plans are if they have some sort of catastrophic failure. That's a lot of people in the air. 5,000?
5,000 people. That's incredible. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think it will ever happen? Do you think this will ever materialize? Or is it just going to be in the books of future tech that was never built, like the flying car back in the day? That they actually were able to do it, but it never really took off. No pun intended. And thank you, by the way. Let's see here. Carol McLean, I appreciate your support. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. Shirley Millward, and of course, Red Pilled. Thank you again for your support on the last show. By the way, some people stopped by. Humble Hashmaker says thanks. Rhonda McKee says thanks as well. Did on the super thanks on the last show. Zippy Moon says the ship's maintenance is a constant. I lived in the bottom of LHA for 2 long months. Squids always painting and tightening nuts. I just got that. All right, and then Darren Dillinger, thank you for subscribing. Thaddeus J, Britt Fitz, David Farrell, Deadhead Chef, and Tammy Paget, Saeed Tylel, and Elaine Patinas. Thank you so much for subscribing just now. I appreciate you, and welcome to the Marvia. All right. And then 3 perished and at least 50 injured when an Amtrak train derails in Missouri after hitting a dump truck. This seems oddly reminiscent of something I covered when I was first starting my channel. This is a horrible accident. It says that 3 people are no longer alive and at least 50 injured after an Amtrak train derailed on Monday in Missouri. It says that Corporal Justin Dunn, a spokesman for the Missouri State Highway Patrol, told reporters that 2 of the people that were perished were aboard the train while the third was in the dump truck that the train struck. It says authorities said that the tragic incident happened at an uncontrolled intersection without warning or motion gates, where a gravel road crossed the tracks of southwest of town. It says Amtrak said that the train collided with the dump truck at a public crossing near the city of Mendon about 12:42 p.m. 8 cars and 2 locomotives left the track after striking a truck that was obstructing a public crossing near Mendon, Missouri. So one thing, this is the second time in just a few years that a dump truck, specifically a dump truck, got hit by, I believe, even an Amtrak. The other one was the caucus train that was taking a bunch of the R side of the aisle politicians to, I want to say, Greenbrier. Dex, isn't that correct? That train that derailed a while back, it hit basically a garbage truck, and it derailed on the way to Greenbrier, which is known to be like a kind of a secret bunker type meeting place.
Yeah, they were en route to a special meeting.
Yeah, which is weird enough. I wonder who was on this train, if there was anybody that was of super importance or any VIPs on that train. Otherwise, it was an unmarked intersection. You would think after this accident that they would probably change that, but we don't know. And then we have naval crew confirm their warships were swarmed by at least 100 otherworldly UFOs. So pretty crazy stuff here. It says their presence alone is a serious national security issue. Dozens of sailors confirmed their warships were swarmed by at least 100 otherworldly UFOs as their accounts contradict Navy chiefs' effort to dismiss them as drones. Sailors on board a fleet of Navy warships sailing off the Southern California coast in July 2019 witnessed several of the ships being swarmed by a host of unidentified flying objects. The incident went on for hours and then happened again and again throughout the month, with craft hovering and zipping around near the fleet with flashing multicolored lights. It says Navy chiefs have tried to explain away the incident, with Deputy Director for Naval Intelligence say he was reasonably confident that the objects were drones. But documentary filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, in an exclusive interview with Daily Mail, says that the crew from the ships have told the swarms of at least 100 UFOs possessed unexplainable capabilities far beyond traditional drones. He also warned that unless the government can determine who is behind the swarm, the intelligence failure would dwarf our mistakes made during the events of 9/11. So another quote here, it says, I don't care if these were drones or true UFOs, pyramids, triangles, or even seagulls with lights strapped onto their wings. I want a fundamental question to be answered. Do we know the controller of these units? So this is multiple times. Obviously, we talked about this when it first came out, but now they really don't. They're just saying it's drones. Well, if they're drones, whose drones are they? Dex, what do you think? Do you think it's G, or do you think it's It's out of this world.
As we reported a couple weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago, I think it was, they were saying, oh, those is drones, but we think it's from Xi, right? They think it was some new secret project. But it really sounds like the description coming here from these other people that were there. They really make it sound like it can't just be drones. Like it's got to be something different. And so this will probably go down as one of those, never really know the answer to. But we got people that were witnesses. They're going to tell us what they saw, what they experienced, and then we'll have to take that with a grain of salt, and definitely take with a grain of salt what the Pentagon is going to tell us, because they're not going to necessarily put out the full truth if they don't want to, right?
No, they never do. They never tell us until it's too late. By the way, just real quick, I want to say a big thank you to Alaska Prepper for being an awesome guy. I also want to say a big thank you to Jacob Israel. If you guys haven't checked out Jacob Israel, make sure to do so. Most of you probably assume I'm a human being. I had a really rough week with my kids being sick, with our kitten, or with our new kitten, and one kitten ended up being stillborn, and just all this other stuff. It seems like a lot of stuff will happen to you all at once. And then, of course, we had the heat wave out of nowhere, and just, nobody's ready for it here. And I just want to say, when I talked to Jacob, he spent probably 45 minutes on the phone making me feel better. And I just want to let you guys know, there's people that are the same on and off camera. Obviously, I'm a human being. I have my issues. I have my demons that I have to, deal with, of course. And I have had a rough time through all of this too. We all went through CV. We all went through this horrible stuff. I do want you guys to know, though, if you have one thing in your life, try to surround yourself with positive people that really care about you, and try to surround yourself with positivity. People are always going to be negative, and I am not perfect at being positive. That is for damn sure. But I will say this: if you take an actual a inventory of how much you are to be grateful for, it does help a whole lot. And sometimes it may be very little. If there's 5 bad things, try to take inventory of the one good thing that is going on, the silver lining. You all have to find it. And I think that if we all try to get in that headspace, less people will start being afraid of this stuff and more prepared for what is coming. And I do truly believe we have bad things coming. It's not getting better. And we kind of want to say, we told you so, but we're not trying to get a pat on the back. We knew this was coming. A lot of you did too. A lot of you sent me messages years ago. You guys predicted things that are absolutely happening right now. So just, if you believe in God, pray to Him. If you have a higher power, pray to that, or it's positive vibes. Any way you want to look at it, go ahead. But please try to have everybody be positive in the chat, especially when we do call-ins. Tonight's not one, but try to treat other people with respect. If you're saying, oh, he's lecturing again or something, this is my channel, and you guys are voluntarily here. You don't have to be. I am a human being, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And when I say that, I really mean it. And I do appreciate people like Jacob and everybody else. I'm nowhere close to perfect. We have family issues. We have things going on all the time. And I know that all of you do too. That's the thing. People sometimes forget that the people on your screen are human beings, and they have issues too, that they have people die. They have diagnoses. They have things like that. They have accidents. They have all sorts of things. They get mad. They get angry. So I just want you guys to know I appreciate each and every one of you here. And I won't go on a lecture for at least 3 or 4 more days, but I do want to make sure that we all try to go this way, because it will make this group a whole lot stronger. Try to push people up. Don't listen to negative stuff. It's pointless. What is the point of it? What is the actual point of it? Do you see what I'm saying? If the point of it is to tear somebody down, then it doesn't belong here. So... and then, of course, with all of this stuff going on, it's just nuts. Nicole Stargell, Leslie, Lindsay, thank you so much. Happy Girl says, thank you, Marv. Hey, Bible Talk, thank you, says, I love ice cream. Hey, be grateful for that. Mona Sespi, why would anybody want to use all these chemicals? Lisa Green, Pellet Pushers TV. Hey, I wonder if that's a channel. Nice to see you. Margaret Arnold, Jack Tronics, James Wolf, Jay Stone is here. We've got Susan Loves Huskies. And while I'm thinking about Susan, thank you, Susan Donahue, for being amazing. Whitetail 7, Tim Empson, Tom Atier. You run a cool show, bro. I have no complaints. Well, that's the thing. Like we try pretty hard. If you like this show, just watch the show. Don't worry about drama. Let's focus on creating and being, trying to put out as much stuff as we can, and just let's be happy, guys. We have all sorts of things to not be happy about. If you get caught in the negative circle, then you never leave it. And it may feel good to be a part of something negative because everybody else is negative, but it's what is it called? Misery loves company. And if you surround yourself with those kind of people, you will be like that. All right, and again, make sure to go check out Jacob Israel. Make sure to go check out Alaska Prepper. Make sure to go check out Global Witness Derek. Even if you don't agree with all of their thoughts and their views, we need to get to the point where we're all kind of trying to understand that people are going to have opposite views. I'll talk about it later, but a personal thing that happened between family members in Facebook and a political thing that they said, and I was just like blown away. Starts fights all the time. And then Vladia says that Putin will be part of the G20 summit, setting stage for showdown with Western leaders. So, Dex, one thing I don't get is if he is the next, the next Adolf, why are so many countries doing stuff with him? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, technically they're part of G20. So if they show up, he has a right, I guess, to be there. I don't know if they have a way of kicking him out or saying he can't be, but yes, he's, part of his country is part of the G20. So they can send who they want, and he usually goes himself.
So as far as it says that President Vlad plans to participate in this year's Group of 20 summit, it says the Kremlin said Monday, setting up a potentially dramatic first meeting between Vlad and his critics since he ordered the invasion of UKR in February. It says that Yuri Azarov, an advisor to Vlad, confirmed the plans to the Vladian state media, but said that it was still being determined whether Vlad will travel to the summit in person, citing CV concerns. I doubt it's about CV. It's probably about safety or being taken out somehow, or eating a strawberry off a platter or something and going, I don't know. This is just, they use that. They say that that's concerns. One thing I don't get is like they openly say things like this, and 99% of people read that and they go, it's not because of that. It's just like media and how they say things in the government. They just say things that are obviously lies, but since they're saying it officially, you go, well, that we just have to take that at face value. I doubt he's not going to travel because of that. He's not going to travel because people are trying to take him out. In fact, we've covered over the last few weeks, he's had several close calls, and now he even has somebody that takes his bathroom breaks out of the toilet and ships them back to Vladia. So something weird is going on here, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why you would do it after it goes out, but we don't know what's actually going on with him. They've said that he has cancer, that he is terminally ill, and that he may be just absolutely psychopath, but that could totally be Ganda. That could totally be to make us think that he's just on his last leg and he's going to push the button before he goes. Honestly, we will not know until it's too late. Like somebody said, they're not going to tell us until it's too late. So what do you think? Let me know in the chat. Jane below, thank you. D, what's going on? Knowledge 2020, and of course Mr. B, Colleen C, Bill McGonigal. What an awesome name, McGonigal. Hey, nice to see you guys. All right, and then before we cover U.S. troops reach 100,000 in Europe, And there's more behind that. I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to get yourself some long-term survival food. We actually have a solution for you. Again, a lot of people asked us, where do we actually get MREs and freeze-dried foods and things like this? So after about 6 months, we found My Patriot Supply. This was one of the best companies because of the taste of the food, the actual selection that they have, and the prices are really, really great. Now, if you haven't been over there yet, at marfooglenews.com/prep, you'll see that there's a full selection of MREs. There's food. There's packages, such as the 72-hour package. There is also a 1-month supply, a 3-month supply, which is now $150 off. And then, of course, there's all sorts of gadgets. If you want to actually get serious about prep and you want something like a water purifier, like the Alexa Pure Pro, it's a gravity-fed water purification system that can actually get rid of basically 99.9% of all the nasty stuff. And if you don't trust your water, that's a good system. But they also have all sorts of stuff. They have iodine tablets. They have battery power. They have radios. They have all sorts of awesome kits for gifts. So make sure to go check it out. Every time you go over and purchase something, they end up giving us a commission and in some cases giving you a discount. That way you're getting something awesome out of it and you're helping our channel at the same time. Thank you guys, especially because we cover controversial stuff and a lot of our stuff is not suitable for advertisers. This kind of stuff steps in that place. So thank you so much for your support. And again, it's going to do you good as well. Whether it's the end of the world or a week-long power outage, it's definitely a useful thing to have around. All right, and then Dex, 100,000 in Europe. This is obviously, we've been talking about this over the last couple of weeks, how now there is more than ever. They're deploying all sorts of people. NATO is saying, even as of last week, they were deploying a bunch of people. What do you think is going on with this?
Yeah, so this is a big jump. You know, we had like 60,000-ish, 65,000 there, and now we're up to 100,000 since the start, right? So that's a big jump of our investment. Now, mind you, a lot of them are based in Europe. A lot of our troops are based in Europe, so we do have a large presence, but we did send over a lot more, right, to get to these type of numbers. So, and the number keeps growing. And so, you know, we've grown this much in the last 2 months. So can you imagine, you know, if we keep going at this rate, we're probably going to be sending more and more troops. And it sounds like they are preparing for something if they need this many, troops there, in addition to what they have with the rest of the NATO forces, right?
Okay, so this is 100,000 troops. That's a lot of people. That is 2 of the largest football stadiums that exist, full of soldiers, and they're all in different places in Europe. They're deploying en masse. I told you before this happened, right? We just covered this. Remember, Fugle fam and Marfia actually watching the different public cams found that they were sending out and shipping out all of these, renewal ships, these huge supply ships, that their entire purpose is to actually supply for a certain amount of days. So say one of these ships will have 30 days worth of supplies for a mission for however many people. Well, if you see a lot of these ships leave, that means there's probably going to be a big operation. So we've been watching those webcams. These are public webcams that anybody, including G or anybody else, can access. And all of those took off and in like a 3-day period. This is, again, what happened right before the start of the UKR conflict. And we showed you that, and then it all happened. Anybody that has followed this channel longer than when this started knows that we talked about this before it was going to happen. We talked about it a year before. We showed you that there were all of these weird money moves being made to have this kind of thing start. And a lot of troop movement and a lot of drills and exercises that were eerily similar to what's actually happening right now. And if you look at the drills and exercises happening now, you go, holy moly, what are they preparing for? And then on top of this, we're going to talk about it here in a second, 300,000 on high alert. Something big seems to be going down. And I apologize if this scares you. Most of you are desensitized to this and already know this isn't something we should be afraid of, at least yet. We are going to have notice, and I bet you we're going to be punched right in the jaw with the notice of this one. But most of you will know. We've been seeing this for a long time. It shouldn't be a surprise that it seems like we're heading into WW3. If you don't realize that UKR is a proxy right now between us and Vlad and UK and Vlad and all of these others, I don't know what to say. We're sending our gear and our training, all of our stuff basically is being inserted into UKR to then harm them. Big things are happening. The entire world has cut Vlad off of their entire systems. Everything. And again, some say it's not even enough. There are still, there's still gas going to Europe right now when supposedly this is the next Adolf, right? And meanwhile, they are saying the same thing. On their TV, they are saying all sorts of things. Their officials are saying that they're going to wipe us clean off the earth, that they're going to say that Europe is disappearing. They're saying that they're going to nuke everybody or send a tidal wave 1,500 feet high. This is all rhetoric, and people are used to them, saber rattling. But now it's to the point where their entire population is being told, we're already at conflict number 3. We're already here. So it's kind of hard to deny this is happening. And then NATO to significantly increase forces on high alert to over 300,000 from 40,000 amid the threat from Vlad. 300,000 on high alert. So they are getting everything lined up. They're packing their bags, essentially. Would somebody disagree with me on that? If you're military, please comment what high alert means. That basically means high readiness, high alert. They're ready to go at a moment's notice. And I believe there's differences between, because I've read before where it says, they need to be up and out in 5 days or in 10 days or 15 days. This is basically high alert. They're ready to go whenever they're needed. Dex, would you say that's accurate, or am I wrong?
Yeah, I think it's accurate. And they're talking about doing these on the NATO countries that sit closest to Vlad's country. So, they're not just be ready to roll there. It sounds like moving troops into those locations.
So we'll cover that right now. It says NATO will significantly increase the number of forces on high alert to over 300,000 from 40,000 as part of the biggest overhaul of the alliance's defenses since the Cold Conflict. It says NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg also confirmed that allies will expand troop deployments in NATO countries that sit closest to Vlad. So they are getting right up on their border. It says the decision will be set out at a landmark summit of the 30-member NATO alliance this week in Madrid, which is taking place in the shadow of Vlad's conflict in UKR. It says, quote, "We will transform the NATO response force and increase the number of our high readiness forces to a well over 300,000. That sounds like a WW3 to me. If this happens, which I'm hoping it's not, but I'm going to leave that option and everybody can have their own opinion on this. It seems like we are getting closer to the actual event. I really hope it's not. I'm not wishing for this to happen. People always say, oh, it's like you want this to happen. I don't want this to happen. I have kids. I don't want any of this to happen. And I'm in the U.S., which the U.S., everyone thinks that we're so safe. Geographically, and we're the strongest and we're the baddest. I agree. We are bad and we are strong. But never underestimate your enemies. Never underestimate your foe. The Vlad and Xi, there's something very weird going on. And if you don't see that Xi is somehow involved in all of this, then I don't know what to say. Xi is backing him up. They're No Limits partner. They just built a physical bridge between Xi and Vlad. Most of you knew that because you watched the show, but if you didn't see that episode, they built a physical bridge, millions and millions, if not $1 billion, on this bridge that can now take troops and everything else back and forth. They are No Limits partners. They're basically like this right now, and that is and places like India are now somehow basically in cahoots with Xi, which India and Xi have always been butting heads. Now they don't have any troops on the border of the Himalayas. Xi and India for 40 years have been at that border, both saying, we own the Himalayas, you own I own the Himalayas. And on both sides, there's no actual border because they keep redrawing it and saying, this is ours. And then they say, this is ours. They've had forces, temporary setups, tents, whole mobile hospitals set up. Those all disappeared last year. What in the hell's going on? And this was after they had a clash on the mountains. Maybe they talked it out and said, hey, let's be teams. This stuff's all about to go down. You want to be on the right side of history, right? You want to seat at the table. We're going to overpower these guys. Maybe they convinced India that. I don't know. But India is drilling with now Vlad, and now Vlad and Xi are close, and now India is doing the same drills and the same exercises with Vlad and Xi. It's not, like I said the other day, it's like, if you have 3 friends and 2 of the friends don't get along, you hang out and they're like, I don't like that guy, but whatever, let's go bowling or something. It's a little bit worse than that because they're all nuclear powers. So this it seems like it's coming. So if you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments below. What do you think? How can we get out of this? And what do you think this is really going on? I know that there's a lot of distractions right now, and I know that they're passing things left and right. Is this all part of it? I don't know. Lord Andrew says it's sad how India turned on us. Well, just to remind you as well, everybody else stopped getting gas from Vlad. Well, guess what India did? India is now getting 6 times the amount in a 2-month period. From the same 2-month period last year, they got 6 times the amount of fuel. So basically where the sanctions hit Vlad the hardest, places like India and Xi and all these other smaller countries, they ended up making up for it. In fact, they say that Vlad isn't actually losing much money right now. Somebody did comment in the chat that Vlad defaulted on a debt for the first time since 1918. Dex, I know we've covered that.
We're covering that later.
Okay, so that is in there. All right. So we'll talk about that in about 4 articles here. So there's a lot of things changing, and it's changing fast. So that's why we just suggest everybody have your head on a swivel and be mentally prepared. If you're mentally prepared, you'll be less scared. You'll be less afraid. And then scenes of horror as Vlad hits a mall with 1,000 people inside. Now, I take everything just personal. On a personal note, I take everything with a grain of salt. Everything that's coming out of everywhere. Now, most people have a really hard time even believing video now because of what they can do with it. But it does seem, we have heard from at least a couple of Fugle family members that this did happen and some people were lost. This is pretty bad. But of course, people ask the question, who actually launched whatever hit it? Well, they say that Vlad did. So it says that Vlad fired a series of rockets at a shopping center in Kremenchuk, UKR on Monday, raising alarm bells that Vlad is stepping up its attack on civilian structures regardless of the loss of life. UKR President Vlad said Monday that there were more than 1,000 civilians inside the shopping mall, and the casualties to come might bring even more shock and horror to the people. It says already confronting so much perished people and destruction as Vlad has been waging conflict in UKR for 124 days. It says the number of victims is impossible to imagine, Zelensky said on Telegram. It says the mall is on fire. Rescuers are fighting the fire. Rough translation there. So, Dex, can we see what Vlad has said about this if they are denying it? I'm assuming that something like this they will either deny or say that somebody else did it.
Yeah, I can check their sources real quick.
A lot of the times it won't even show up on any of the Vladian news prompters if they deny it, or later they'll deny it or say that they didn't do it. I'm pretty sure, and I'm just making a prediction here, that they will say that they weren't behind it and somebody else was, or they'll say it was an accident and it was collateral damage. I don't know. But we don't have confirmation from both sides yet. Dex, what?
Yeah, and it's probably too soon for them to make an announcement because they would need time, right? They wouldn't come right out and say something. They usually take a day or two to put it together.
Yeah, that's what exactly. It usually by tomorrow, and I'm guessing, so tomorrow's Tuesday. I bet you, just from looking at patterns and from what's happening, I assume that something is going to come out on this. Wounded Dove says Britain has controlled the world note. They are not suffering. Let's see here. Guarantee the big guy knows, says Off-Grid Hillbilly Style. What's going on? It's nice to see Off-Grid Hillbilly. And then Nature Lover, Canadian Girl. What is happening? UKR did it. like, I don't know why. It's funny when I said UKR did it. Somebody else says something about the Simpsons. I thought Simpsons did it. Revelation 17, G20. Oh, that would be something that would be cool to have Jacob cover. Para-character exaggerated. Hold on, let me get back to that. Soylent Green is people. Everyone's out shopping for sneakers. Just a feeling. Let's see here. USA is pushing for conflict. Why? There's people that will benefit from it financially. If you haven't seen the people that are on the board of the military-industrial complex of all these companies, of the Raytheons and the Northrop Grumman, all of these companies, look at the people that are on the boards, and then you will know why they're pushing for it. It's pretty bad. J Mav, Unpredictable Tony, Beer Juice, Vlad is kicking the crap out of UKR and NATO. That is J Mav's opinion about it. The fight is about reserve currency of the conflict. By the way, J Mav, you may be right. We don't know what is actually happening because obviously they've cut out one side of journalists, and then on the other side, both sides have Ganda going left and right. Student loves Huskies. Look at the boards they sit on. Aloha Prepper, aloha all. What's going on? Aloha and mahalo. Let's see here. Oh, somebody just put a really good comment in there about the art of war. All right, and then Dex, if you could talk about the default on the foreign debt for the first time since 2018 or 1918.
Yeah, so this has been, I guess, in the works in the sense that everybody has thought that there was going to be these economic issues against them, and specifically, there's been certain countries that have not been paid their interest or other things on the on notes and on debts that are owned by the Vlad's country. So specifically, Russia defaulted on its foreign currency sovereign debt for the first time. So anything that's foreign currency and debt that was based on that, which is obviously tougher for them with the sanctions, and they shut down the payment routes. So it sort of makes it difficult for them to settle too. So and make these payments. So on one hand, they can't do it, but on the other hand, they don't. I guess you might think they don't have the money, or at least that's what they're saying. But then we know for a fact they're making more money now off of oil than they did before this event started, right? So. And I think if you go look at the value of the ruble to the US dollar, it is at an all-time high. So in other words, it didn't crash. It started to, but then it recovered quickly and it went better than it's ever been. It's so good. It's almost crazy. So, those types of things don't necessarily make this headline seem legit, right? You sort of read this headline, you go, well, how is that the case when their ruble's doing so well, when their oil sales are doing so well to the two major countries that they can, outflow it through. But yeah, so this really
unless
probably
they're doing
comes
it on
down
purpose.
to some of the sanctions. Yeah.
And basically, unless they're saying we're just not going to pay you because we're going to do something else to you. I don't know.
Yeah, and the sanctions around the mechanisms they're allowed to use to transfer money that they don't have access to, like SWIFT and other things, so they can't necessarily pay people. So therefore, they end up defaulting, right? So it's not that they can't, like they have it, but nobody will take it, what they have. Does that make sense? Like they can't send them rubles because they won't take it. They have no way to transact it.
So as far as what is really happening with this, it's kind of hard to say at this point if they're doing it on purpose. We will follow what their response is to this and what they will end up saying in the coming days. We try to end up following we actually have to now. We have to use VPNs to get to certain news sites right now. It's pretty insane how restricted not just Vlad, but other countries are. There's even outlets in India that are now restricted. Lots of really funky stuff going on. So we will follow this and we'll update you on what's actually happening here. It is pretty alarming that they are not paying if it is what we think it is. All right, and then before we talk about it, SK would expect U.S. to intervene if Xi invades Taiwan, official says. I do want to remind everybody, if you actually want to protect yourself against an EMP strike, there's actually a way to do it. EMP Shield is a company that has worked with agencies like DoD, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and of course on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. They make a device that can actually ground the signal from all three phases of an EMP and a CME, so a Carrington-level sun event, in less than 500 trillionths of a second. This device, when put on a car, means your car runs when no one else does. It means your generator runs when no one else's does. It means that your home and the devices that are wired in within a certain range run when no one else's does. So this is a big deal. Again, most people that have already gone through them will tell you it's not only a great product, but it's an amazing company. It's a veteran-owned company. It's 100% American-made, and it's all made by hand. In fact, when we first started with them before T-Man, our last president, did an executive order that basically directly called this company and others up to harden our grid. They were in a small facility in Kansas making them all by hand. Now, they have grown, they have more facilities, but they are still making these by hand because of how particular they are. It's again, a really simple and amazing solution for an extremely complex problem. So if you want to get one of these, they make a designed device for pretty much anything you can think of. Cars, RVs, motorcycles, boats. They even have one for ham radios, generators, solar system. In fact, you can get an EMP shield directly and purposely made specifically for the energy solar generator. So if you do, and you did end up going and investing in a solar generator like a Flex 1500, you can actually go get an EMP Shield branded energy solar generator EMP Shield. So really great pair. Make sure to go check that out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Not only will you get an amazing thing that could possibly save your life or keep you running, but also you'll be helping our channel and getting a $50 discount. Thank you, everybody that has gone through already. Ask anybody in the Foogle fam that has one. As far as some of the models, like the car one, super easy to put in, about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. I've heard 15 minutes at the most, again, if you have problems. But it's really easy to put in your car, and then it keeps running. And then, of course, South Korea would expect U.S. to intervene if Xi invades Taiwan. That's, of course, according to an official in SK. SK would expect the U.S. to respond militarily to a Xi invasion of Taiwan, according to a Korean official. This is why it matters. Xi's threats to bring the self-governing island under its control by force, if necessary, present perhaps the most likely scenario for conflict with the U.S. As a U.S. ally, SK would be very wary of getting pulled into such a conflict, the official said, but would worry about its own security if the U.S. did not respond with force. So Dex, first of all, isn't it? It's you see Japan and South Korea very concerned about Xi taking Taiwan. It's almost like you see the Baltic states worrying when Vlad takes UKR. Are they going to take us next? Is it? I just kind of noticed. It's like, do they think that he is going to take over all of the Asian countries? That's where his next target would be? Do you think that that's where the thinking is, or is it geographical that they are worried that they might be next, or is it a culture?
I think it's both. I really think it's both. So I think on one hand, they're sort of making this statement that they expect it to happen. Maybe they're trying to will it to happen, but they ultimately want to think that the protection that the U.S. gives to SK and gives to Japan is true, and they'd like to think that if something happened to Taiwan, they'd be able to see what kind of protection the U.S. is really going to give, right? So on one hand, they're thinking, okay, well, you know, we have put all our eggs in the U.S. basket, so let's make sure they're really going to put their money where their mouth is, right? And so that's part of it. And then I guess the other side of it is like what you were saying is there an expansionism coming from Xi beyond just Taiwan? And, you know, it's likely that he would think of SK really being part of NK as it was before the 50s when they split it, right? And it was just 1K, so to speak, right? And then I think, obviously Japan has had their own issues with Xi and the country in from the second great conflict and others where they've been back and forth. So they all have some skin in this game, so to speak. And so I think they're looking at it on two sides. Is the U.S. really going to do what they say they're going to do? And, what does it mean to us if he does take Taiwan? Are we next?
And that is a question that is kind of unanswerable for now, but we're following it. One thing I would like to say on that matter is one little part in here. It says, the official said Xi currently possesses security risks to SK, but not a direct threat, quote, threat. However, the official cited a potential incident in the Taiwan Strait as a scenario that could change the equation. Anything that is in a strait, like the Strait of Hormuz or the Taiwan Strait, I think about that video from years ago of the guy going, oh, they said we would take 7 countries in 7 years, and we would go down the line, and there would be an incident in the Strait of Hormuz where one of their ships or one of our ships is painted like their ship, and it pretends to then attack us or blah blah blah. Basically, a Fantastic Freddy, right? Now I'm also keeping my eye, especially after his quotes about this scenario in the Taiwan Strait. It sounds to me like that would be another place where an incident like that could happen. So again, Fantastic Freddy's. If you don't know what that is, make sure to look it up. Ask a Fugle family member. It is one of the biggest no-nos on the platforms. So again, make sure to go check that out. It is something that has happened. It's happened in and before almost every conflict. Gulf of Tonkin, one of them. So again, I'm watching it. We will let you know what goes on. And then Taiwan, U.S. to hold first trade talks under new initiative. Dex, under this new initiative, essentially, they have a new framework that is made up. Can you explain what that means as far as how Xi is looking at this and what's happening?
Well, yeah. So obviously, if we're creating these specific trade talks and we're doing that outside of Xi, then we're sort of indirectly recognizing Taiwan. And if we're doing that and creating these talks, just like when we send diplomats over there, just like when we send other even sometimes military people over there. We're doing these things that sort of go in the face to Xi, so to speak. So this is definitely a big step. And this actually came out of the SCMP, which is South China Morning Post newspaper. So that's where this article originally started. And that's, I guess, a lot of people consider that part of Xi's mouthpieces or his Ganda platforms. There's so many of them that he's got. But the point being is that they look at this as a big deal. They're saying it's a big deal. They being Xi's country, and the fact that this is a big milestone, so to speak, in the discussions with the U.S. and Taiwan, and it very much puts Taiwan in a position that it is independent, or at least looking that way, the appearance of independence. I
also want to point out John Dang, who is the trade negotiator for Xi. They say that he is also isolating. He's not going in person. He is, of course, doing it virtually, and that's because he had contracted or tested positive for the. So I just want to point out that we have covered at least 12 or 13 stories of big officials that have obviously gotten that same thing, but are also isolating and not going publicly to events. I just wonder underneath it all if there's any other reasons why people aren't going to things in person, possible fears of something happening to them. Just a thought. Again, an idea. Ideas are still tradable by human beings now, or they should be. And big thank you, big shout out to Joseph Newhouse. Says, I just made a video. Can we debunk Mandela Bear with Strange Portal with a clip from Trinity's video? That's awesome that you're using Trinity's videos. She does amazing videos along with CJ Blaze and Trinity. I think a lot of times do really, really great stuff. Trinity puts a lot of work into her narration. She does. I would say if she kept going, she could be a professional documentarian. The way that she puts her pictures and everything in. Brandon Donati, make sure to say something if you can. I know you did a super sticker. Thank you. I do like comments, though, so I can get to know you. Ross Stubbington, thank you for your support from Canada. And then Stephen McMahon, N boots on the ground in UK by September. Nuclear boomers hit us by Christmas. At least 50% of us perished. Well, I hope that's not true, Stephen McMahon. And then Be Real Beast, thanks for what you do, fam. God bless. Maybe a miracle will happen at the G20 meeting. They will embrace peace. Stephen McMahon, I'm glad that you followed that very scary comment up with a possible miracle, because honestly, that's kind of what we need right now. And then Be Real Beast, flashbang announcement of a globalized agenda. Pledge billions. Get prepared. God bless. Pay attention to that comment that Be Real just put down. Marky Sparky, thank you so much for the super sticker as well, and the cup of coffee. So I appreciate that. And then Bible Talk 777, again, thanks for stopping in. Over on DLive, I want to say a very, very, very special thank you to everybody that has popped in so far. It looks like Michelle K, Kimbria, Moxie71, Ask Me About My End Times, and then, of course, Gem, thank you, from Europe. From the UK, sorry. Renegade PD, Peepaw's Dead, I Love Jesus Forever, Stacy Bomba, The Saxon, Vicky K, Chewy Weather, Vault 11, Kishara, and everybody else that's over there. Thank you so much for your support. Michelle K says, for my son Dylan, rest in peace, 5/13/2022. I am so sorry. No one should ever have to bury their children. I am so sorry, Michelle K. Again, I hope that there's Fugle fam that you personally know that you can talk to. There's nothing that can make anything like that go away. It just hurts. Anybody that hears about somebody else losing their children immediately thinks about their own, and it just drops your heart. So I am praying for you, Michelle K. I am so sorry. Michelle, how old was your son? I'm so sorry to hear that. Dylan, rest in peace. Michelle K, if you want, if you send in pictures, we can do a little piece at the end of the show on the next couple shows. So sorry that you lost your son. So sorry. All right. Well, and then Dex, we have, of course, we have our off-grid giveaway, and we have our web-only stuff. Do you want to go over that now?
Yes, absolutely. So head over to marfooglenews.com and click on the thumbnail for the show, or open the description on YouTube and click on show notes. It'll take you to our webpage, and you will see the off-grid. The first thing you're going to see there is the off-grid giveaway. And if you want to just type in an address to get to it, just type in marfooglenews.com/giveaway. It'll take you right to the giveaway if you want to skip all of that. But I highly recommend you go to the website because there's lots more there besides just this giveaway. So make sure you don't miss. You got 8 days left, 8 days to get this bag. It's a $380 backpack, holds a laptop, holds a tablet, holds a cell phone, holds a key fob. And when I say holds, I mean all of those are in Faraday bags. All of those are fully protected from EMPs, from spying and listening. Any type of connectivity is completely cut off when it's in this bag. Plus, it's a huge bag. You can store 2 days worth of clothes and all sorts of other stuff in it. It's a phenomenal bag. So make sure you go get that. We love it when we're working with these affiliates and we can find ways to give things back to the community. This is a great opportunity. So make sure you guys get in on it. Okay. While you're here, scroll down to that orange bar that says overflow or web content. That's where the rest of the story is. So everything else we didn't get to, we couldn't cover. You got a lot of updates from over the weekend on what was going on with the big decision that came out of the Supreme Court. So there's lots of coverage there. You can see what's happening. Even some personalities like Howard Stern is coming out and making commentary about, potentially running, things like that. You can find out that and a whole lot more. There's definitely, outside of the political spectrum that's there, there's a lot of other things happening. Things like, what's your cookout going to cost this July 4th, which is coming up. I think everybody's probably getting ready to do something with family, hopefully, or you're getting to spend some time. around the charcoal grill, so to speak. But gas prices are up. A crazy subway story, and I'm not talking about underground. I'm talking about the sandwich shop. So if you haven't heard what happened there, that and so much more, it's all over on marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show or open that description on YouTube and click on show notes. It'll take you directly here. So you can't miss it. It's easy to get to.
Thank you, Dex. I appreciate that. Marky Sparky says this channel is talking about info that has been given out, and do your own research instead of giving out negative stuff. I appreciate that. Again, one thing that a lot of folks don't realize is how many hours goes into collecting all of this. First of all, we don't just cover mainstream stuff. We cover stuff from all over the place. But also, when we do cover mainstream, which I believe wholeheartedly that you should pay attention to mainstream and you should take all of it with a grain of salt. If there's mainstream out there and it gets, so say your friend reads it at work, and this is really important. Your friend reads it at work and then tells you a factoid from that. Oh, no, it's a fact that this happened. Say the person that's being told that has not read that mainstream article. They just believe it as fact. Then they pass it on. They say, oh, I heard about this, and it was from a good source, whatever. The key thing to do is to question everything. And if you don't take a mainstream article and then say, hey, we have questions about this, then you're just taking it at face value. Personally, I think at this point, enough people do not trust media to the point where they want to fact check themselves or at least question it. Just adding a question mark at the end of all of these things that they say changes everything. We should always question everything. Isn't that like the saying on what is it, X-Files or something? But I'm serious. It really should be questioned, and that's the difference. We always give our opinion on that mainstream and bring up relative things. Now, all of this is here for you, and it's all archived and available for you to go to. You have all of this. You don't have to go to 20 different websites. You can go to one and find everything there. Basically, there are some people that don't even watch the show. They go to the website and they read all of the news that we have put together. And it's a wide variety. It's from everywhere, left, right, doesn't matter. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, not just that when it comes to mainstream, but also trying to connect the dots. That's the one thing we also do. And we don't do it solely alone. We do it with all of you because you guys are the ones telling us. We do it as a collective, community and audience. You guys help us fill in the blanks. But when we cover mainstream, it's not just because we're covering a headline at mainstream. It's really, what are we trying to decipher? What's really going on behind the scenes? Is what thing's a distraction versus what thing's reality, and what thing is sort of said one way, but the reality is something different, right? And we can sort of connect those dots as a community, and we do that so well. So for newcomers that have just showed up, you're at a great place. You're going to find a lot of like-minded individuals that like to share this information and like to share their thoughts and process around how they come to some of these understandings. But at the same time, you do have to look at that. You can't ignore what's happening in the mainstream because they're sort of telling you what they're doing.
There's also been so many things that you think in your life, and then something totally comes out and totally negates it or contradicts it. So this is one thing that we should have kind of a unspoken rule is don't call anybody crazy, because the people outside of this group, you go and you tell them what you truly believe, and people are like, oh, that person's loopy. I hope that this is a safe space for you to say, hey, I believe in Bigfoot. If you believe in Bigfoot, that's awesome. Personally, I don't believe in Bigfoot, but I do believe in creatures in the forest, and I also believe in Loch Ness Monster. So call me crazy for that, but I do think that there's animals that survived through the flood and all of the historic events they say happened here. If they were sea animals, they could survive, and they could, we only know, 5% of the ocean? So there's my reasoning behind that. But people may have reasoning that they don't have time to explain, and that's why I think that it's really important that we just let each other have different views. If they have a view that's completely opposite of yours, let them. This is what I don't get with my family. One person in my family said, essentially, if you are anti-abort and you are pro-bang bang, then you are the biggest hypocrite in the world, right? And it was a comment on Facebook. And one of my other family members who is anti this and pro-bang bang And she took it so personally and said, what do you think of me? Are you disgusted by me? She didn't write, because we've had these things happen, and I actually talked about the last time it happened. If she would have commented on this post, then it would have started, everybody would have chimed in, and it would be this huge divide thing. She decided not to comment. I hope she still didn't. But I said, just think about it this way. So the person who said that, they may be, they have that view. You have this view. They're completely opposite. Why do you guys need to talk about that? We're family. Why can't we just go right past it and say, hey, I love you. Let's barbecue. Let's eat some food. Let's talk. Stay away from those with your direct family, unless it's going to get somewhere. If it's not going to get anywhere, then you need to have your family close. Everybody is being divided right now, and it is very purposeful, in my opinion. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Have you had something like that happen recently? Personally, I see both of their opinions, and I see both sides, and I'm like, at the end of the day, it's what you think and what you think, and the only person that's going to change that person's view is themselves. It doesn't, if they say that doesn't mean they think you are this, but most likely they're talking crap behind your back. I get it. But at one point, you just got to let other people have their views. Nana of Montana, I want to say a special thank you to you. Thank you so much for your support tonight. Thank you for supporting our independent channel here. A house divided will not stand. And she said this before. That's so funny. All are or will rattle sabers, because they know the U.S. is divided. Divide and conquer in-house and outside of it. One thing I've noticed, Nana, is I guess we cover a lot of stuff from G. I feel like when you do that, you get just attacks out of nowhere. I really do feel like there's some stuff going on here, and the certain subjects you touch, it's like you all of a sudden bots on Twitter and all this crazy stuff. So I do think that there is a huge divide, and we need to fix it, and we can start fixing it with ourselves, and just try to be forgiving and try to treat each other like you would like to be treated. Ross Stubbington, Stephen McMahon, Be Real Beast, and everybody else that supported tonight, thank you so much. Everybody over in the chat, thank you. And then again, remember, you can always sign up for our notifications over on marfoogle.news.com. Thank you for joining us tonight. Dex, thank you for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. And a fire, up, alert goes a higher. We bring brimstone and a fire. Alert goes up, a higher. We bring brimstone and a fire. Up, alert goes a higher. We bring brimstone and a fire. Alert goes up, a higher. We bring brimstone and a fire. Up, alert goes a higher. We bring brimstone and a fire. I want everybody to have a good time tonight, and I hope that with all the negative stuff we talked about, that you can think of something you can be grateful for and something that you can be positive for. I am thankful for friends like Jacob Israel. I'm thankful for friends like Alaska Prepper. I'm thankful for people like you. Thank you guys. I love you very much. I'm thankful for my mods that are amazing people. Thank you, everybody that puts into making the show great. Forgot to mention, mods have a lot of stories, too. You guys pass on those links to the mods. They pass it on to us. If there's something we missed, send it to us.